What did he say to that, Frank?
Oh, he said he wants it, but you know, you got to do it in the ring, haven't you? It's no good telling me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you've got to do it. A good fight, I think, would be him and Joshua, because both of them have been criticised recently about their desire. You know, whereas Joshua was a bit, he is a big puncher like Daniel, and you look at his last few fights where, you know, you'd like seeing a bit more out of him. So I think that would be a cracking fight.
Not as appealing as Wilder Joshua, the Frank. It wouldn't be as appealing as Wilder Joshua, would it?
I think with the British fans it would, because you've got two big. Look, any of those fights where they're big punchers.
Yeah,
they're big punchers. I haven't got a problem with Wilder Joshua, but it ain't going to happen. It ain't happening. I mean, I've had that conversation on many times, and I said, you know, I don't see that fight happening in Saudi, and I don't see it happening in Saudi at the moment at all. So
I think what Daniel proved out there in Poland was that actually he can compete with the highest level.
Gave him his hardest.
He gave him a tough fight.
He gave him the hardest fight he's had at heavyweight, no doubt about that. He hasn't had a tougher fight.
I know, but we must move past the idea that there's nobility in poverty. You know, we can all look at things from a point of view. Daniel Dubois, if he wants to be a competitor, we know he can compete. The argument is we want him to win.
How much do you want him to compete?
We want him to win.
Yeah.
And this is what he has to believe. And I do believe Joshua versus Dubois would be a good fight. I don't believe it's as big a draw as Joshua versus Wilder, because those two boys have won world titles and they've got...
Those are the words of Frank Warren as his suggestion for Daniel Dubois versus Anthony Joshua based on their recent change of events. I know he was referring to Anthony Joshua last year, and his couple fights he had this year, they haven't been ideal for Joshua, but then neither has Pulev and neither has Andy Ruiz Jr. either, to a lot of people, right? And, you know, the comparison from AJ Dubois versus AJ Wilder, that's no comparison, people. It's not. Just like, shout out to Simon Jordan. He was like, well, those guys were former champions, okay? Not just won world titles. No, they were former champions. And I mean legit former champions in a sense where they had that belt and they defended the belt based on what they had. I think Anthony Joshua had the better opposition, but nonetheless, Deontay Wilder was the WBC heavyweight champion for 5 years. So Danny Dubois got the belt from Trevor Bryant, fought Ladana, had a scare, then quit against Usyk. You know, so that's not a comparison. Then you take Dubois and you take Joshua. Now, that's not a comparison to Deontay Wilder and Joshua, but moving on, if those fights can't get made, realistically, we have to look at the progression of boxing. And I do agree with Frank. That fight would be good. That would be a good fight to make. Maybe if Dubois, if he fights someone and beats them. If he puts himself in a situation where he can prove to Frank that he really wants to win, that he really shows he has heart. Okay? And I feel that would be a good fight. It would. People would buy it. People would watch it. People, you know, it would probably produce a very good fight based on the change in Joshua's outfit. He is able to get hit these days. Daniel Dubois, sure, he can throw punches. He's not as fast as AJ, but I think he is, as long as he doesn't get hit, he's able to throw punches and bunches. He will throw combinations. He won't do or try to be too smartsy and clever like Joshua's trying to be, but at the same time getting whacked, okay? Getting punched up. So between the two, I would like to see that type of fight, sure. But I think it has to be enough money on the table for that. Then you have Frank Warren with Eddie Hearn. You know, does Eddie Hearn really want it for AJ? Let's just face it, because Eddie Hearn, you know, I don't know if he really wants it, you know, or go that route with Frank Warren. You know what I mean? So, but no, the fight would be pretty good. What are the chances of Dubois beating Joshua? 2. Slim and none. Because see, at some point, unless Daniel Dubois catches him with one of those heavy hooks to the temple, I think that would be the only way he stops Joshua. He does like an Andy Ruiz and catches Joshua with a shot that he doesn't see and he never recovers. And Dubois is a decent finisher. He's not the best finisher, but he will get you out of there. He will get you out of there. So it's like, you know, I see Joshua taking him out in 4 rounds, man. Because again, Daniel Dubois, he hasn't convinced me that he doesn't have a chin. And psychologically, I don't know if he's really ready for someone like Joshua. I just don't see it. But nonetheless, it would be something to see. It would be at least, hopefully, it'll be entertaining as long as it lasts. But Daniel Dubois has to show you, though, and everyone else and himself, that, hey, this is what I want to do for a living. Because it seems to me, based on that last performance, he didn't want to do that for a living. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's easy. It feels good when you're punching somebody, but does it feel good when you're getting punched back? What do? Do you bite down on your gum shield, grit your teeth, and keep moving? Or do you fall to the floor and wait for the count? You know what I mean? So he has to prove that first. So I wouldn't really want him to fight Joshua now. Joshua has 2 wins under his belt after his loss last year. He lost in his only fight in the year of 2022 to Alexander Usyk, and he lost his only fight in 2021 by the hands of Usyk. Now you got a guy coming off his 2nd loss to Usyk, just like Joshua. So I see the similarities there. But I don't think that Daniel Dubois, and I don't really think it's fair to Daniel Dubois to fight someone like Joshua. Because him fighting someone like Joshua is probably the equivalent of Joshua fighting someone like Joe Joyce without the chin or without the juggernautish style. Okay, I wouldn't want to see that for Daniel. I would want to see Daniel get his bearings back, get some get-back fights, get the same type of fights, the equivalent to build him like Joshua had this year. That's only fair. You don't want to do Daniel Dubois like that. That's, you know what I mean? And in that case, that's pushing him into something maybe like in a cash-out type situation. But then that's boxing, the sport that I love, that I hate so much. You guys tell me what you think of Frank Warren stating that he would love a fight with his fighter, Daniel Dubois, against Anthony Joshua. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.